Okay, so this week we're going to take a look at sections starting in Chapter 2. Okay, so Chapter 1 was on kind of solving basic equations. Chapter 2 talks about inequalities. Can anybody tell me what makes something an equation? What does it have to have in it to be an equation?
Numbers.
What else?
And symbols.
A special symbol. What symbol does it have to make it an equation?
Equal sign.
Equal sign. Okay? If you have an equal sign, it's an equation. The problems we look at this week are not going to have equal signs in them. So an inequality is a symbol that compares two expressions. Okay, so on your notes, you've got a blank that says an inequality symbol, and then you fill in is a symbol that compares two expressions. Okay, so there's 4 different inequality symbols. I think we looked at one in the warm-up. Can somebody name one of the 4 inequality symbols? Joe?
Greater than.
Greater than. Can somebody name another one? Sophia?
Less than.
Less than. So we got greater than, less than. Noah?
Greater than or equal.
Greater than or equal to. And?
Less than or equal to.
Less than or equal to. Okay, so this symbol means is less than. So like if I wrote something like, that means 3 is less than 5. That's how you read it. You could also say 3 is fewer than, or 3 is below than. Or I wouldn't say below than, you'd say below. 3 is below 5. There's different ways to say it. This one means is less than or equal to. Okay. But another way you can say it is this phrase, is at most. Is at most. Like if I said to you, I have at most $10. Okay, I have at most $10. That would mean I could have $10 or what? If I had at most $10. $10 or what? Someone said, Fred, did you say it?
Lower.
Lower, right? So at most means $10 or lower. If I said to you, to get the student price, you can be at most 18 years old. Okay? To get the student price, you can be at most 18 years old. That means you could be 18 or lower, right? Less than or equal to 18. Another one is this one, is no more than. So again, same thing with like the ages. If I said to you, Sarah is no more than 15 years old. I'm saying she's no more than 15. That means she could be 15 or younger. All right. What about this symbol? What's this one mean?
Greater than.
Greater than? What's another way to say greater than?
More.
More than? Yep. There's a couple ways you can say that one. Now, based on what we just said for this one, anyone think they can give me some different ways to say this one? Let's start with the first way. Anyone think they could reword that?
Is greater than or equal to?
Yep. Is greater than or equal to? How about the second one? How would you reword that? Instead of saying is at most, you'd have to say like is at, yeah, at least. So like if I said to you, in order to pass, you need to get at least a 60. Does that mean you have to get exactly 60?
No.
No. At least 60 means a 60 or higher, right? Greater than or equal to 60. And how about the last one? Anyone think they could reword the third one so that it fits the last one?
Is more than. Well, wait, no.
Is
greater
no
than. Oh, is no less than.
is no less than. Okay, I think those are the trickiest ones. Okay. Like if I said to you, in order to make a team for volleyball or whatever, we can have no less than 4 people. No less than 4 people. That means in order to make the team, we have to have at least 4 people or more. Okay? So that's how you could use no less than. Okay, so any of those ways you might see written. So in a sentence, you might have to translate that into an inequality. Does anybody have any questions on what these mean, or does anyone need to write down anything else here? I think, did you have them all on your sheet, or just like the first one?
I just had the first one.
You had the first one. So if there's anything else you need to fill in, now would be the time to fill it in. Questions? All right. Okay, so I want to try to take what we have on the right, and I want to translate it into an inequality. So the first one says a number W, so that's just what you're calling your variable, minus 3.5. So let's start with that. Can someone just tell me how to write W minus 3.5? Not in words, but symbols, like mathematical. Yep.
W negative 3.5.
Yep. So W, the minus sign, 3.5. And now the next phrase is less than or equal to. We'll just call these 1, 2, 3, 4. Which symbol would I use here?
Yeah. 2.
Symbol 2, less than or equal to.
And then negative 2.
Yep. And then the last thing, negative 2. Now, does the directions say to solve that? No, it just says write each sentence as an inequality. We're done. Later, we're going to look at how we would solve that. But not now. 3 is less than a number n, so n is what you're calling your number, plus 5. So if you wanted to shorten that up, you could just say 3 is less than, you don't even really need that phrase, n plus 5. Everything else that I didn't cross out is important. Okay, let's start with the first thing, 3. Just put a 3. 3 is less than.
1.
What symbol would we use here, Will?
The top one.
Yep, the top one, symbol 1. 3 is less than. And how would we write n plus 5? Joe?
And addition sign 5.
Yeah, and addition sign 5. Any question on that one? I think you guys have done this kind of stuff before with equations, so it's not really that much different with an inequality. You just have to pick 1 through 4, one of those symbols. Does everybody have, actually, no, I can leave what's on the left. I just want to make that a little higher. 0 is greater than or equal to twice a number x plus 1. So let's start with the first thing. Mackenzie, what would be the first thing I write down? Even before the greater than. I am going to put a greater than, but what's going to be before it?
0.
Exactly. Good job. 0 is greater than, so she already gave us that. Greater than or equal to, sorry. Greater than or equal to twice a number x plus 1. Well, how would you write twice x? Gemini?
2x.
2x. And what goes on the end of it?
Plus 1.
Plus 1. Okay. Anyone have any questions on that? What if I said, let me give you one more worded a little differently. Let's say x is at least 12. How would you do that one? X is at least 12. Sophia?
X. And then 4, like the 4 on.
Oh yeah, yep, the fourth symbol down. Yep.
And then 12.
Good. X is greater than or equal to 12. Perfect. Okay, so any questions on the kind of problems you could have with that? You'll always see one of those phrases. Okay. Anybody still need to copy anything down? Okay. Those. Okay, so a solution. When we checked our answers, when we did equations, what would happen, like let's say this was your equation. Let me actually make it a nice number. Let's do 2x equals 6. What would be the solution to 2x equals 6? What would be the answer to 2x equals 6? 3. 3 is the solution. How do you check it?
You fill in the x with the 2.
Right, you fill in the x with the number 3, and what would happen is you get 2 times 3 on the left, which is how much? 6. And what's on the right? 6. Does anybody remember what kind of statement we call that? 6 equals 6? It's a, was that true or false? True. So you get a true statement. What's the same idea here? The solution of an inequality is a value that makes the inequality true. Okay, the big difference here is when you solve an equation like this, how many answers do you get? Sophia? Just one. There's only one answer. When we solve an inequality, what we're going to get for an answer is any number or that number that higher or that number or lower. Okay? So we had something like this. 2 times what is less than 6? There's a lot of things. 2 times 1 is less than 6. 2 times 0. 2 times negative 5. 2 times 0.7, right? 2 times a lot of different things is less than 6. So the difference here with an inequality is you're going to get a lot of numbers that are solutions versus with an equation, usually you get exactly 1. And I said to you, I just said it kind of informally, I said there's a bunch of numbers that make this true. 2 times 2, 2 times 1, 2 times 0. All the numbers that I'm saying are called the solution set. So the answer here is not just a single number, but it's a bunch of stuff. And we call that bunch of stuff a solution set.
What's in bold up there, guys, was the solution set. That's what you want to write down on your notes.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a number, and I want to know if it is a solution. Okay. Let's start with -4. So in the warm-up, we went over like negatives plus negatives, negatives plus positives, and this is why right here. So what's your first step to see if -4 is a solution? It's kind of like the first thing you need to do if the directions say evaluate. Gemini?
You need to plug in a negative quality axis.
Yeah. That's the first step. Fill in -4 for x. Okay, and I'm going to put a question mark above that because we don't know if it's true. Hopefully, we'll see. And then -4 plus 8. How much is -4 plus 8? Not?
-12.
That'd be -4 plus -8.
Maybe 4.
That would be 4. Okay. Think of -4 as like you owe someone 4, you pay them back 8. Now the person made money, right? You only owed them $4, you gave them extra. -4 plus 8 is 4. Is that true? Is 4 less than -3? No. So what does that mean about the number -4 and this problem?
There's no solution.
It's not there's no solution, but this number isn't. that number is not a solution. So negative 4 is not a solution. There might be other numbers that are, but that one's not. All right, let's try this one. Again, remember what you're plugging in. You're plugging in negative 4. Now, even if you're not sure of the arithmetic, does anybody see something that's going to happen on the left that it doesn't really matter what the left-hand side comes out to? What's going to happen on the left? Well, Mallory, can you tell me what are the two numbers you're going to multiply together?
Negative 4.5 times negative 4.
Negative 4.5 times negative 4. What happens when you multiply those two numbers together?
You get a positive.
You get a positive, right? That's the point. You get a positive. So do you even need to really do the problem? If you get a positive number on the left and you have a negative number on the right, is a positive number bigger than a negative number? A positive?
Yes.
Yeah, a positive is always bigger than a negative. So even if you don't know what that comes up to, it doesn't matter. It's going to be positive. And that's always going to be bigger than a negative. But if you actually want to do it out, you could. Did anybody do it out? What did you get?
18.
18. So we have, I'll just write the original problem first. Negative 4.5 times negative 4. Negative times negative is positive. 18. And how did you do that? Did you use your calculator?
No.
Oh, you just knew it?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me double check. Yep, you're right. So negative 4 is a solution. Is it the only solution?
No.
No. I could also do negative 5. Negative 4.5 times negative 5. That would be an even bigger positive number. Negative 6, negative 7. There's a bunch of numbers that are solutions. We're going to show you in a little bit how you would visualize the solutions. Okay? So we can write them, or we can actually draw a picture of them. Has anybody drawn a picture before, like open circle, closed circle?
Yes.
Shade right, shade left?
I don't like those.
Yep, we're going to look at that.
So much.
So you want me to do a little bit?
Yes.
All right, so like Mr. Hager said, so we talked about, we gave it to you in words, inequality, and then you had to write it out in symbols. We gave you a number to plug into an inequality for a variable to see if that could be a possible solution, or it makes it true. Now we're going to show you how to graph. Like Mr. Hager said, we're going to show you how to visualize it. So on the back side of your guided notes, now on the back side, there should be a blank. It says the blank. So you want to write in graph of an inequality. Right at the top there where it's blank, you might want to write in graph of an inequality. Shows the solution set of an inequality on a number line. Right? It depends on what kind of a sign you have, how you're gonna write it out, but shouldn't be too bad. Right, so when we graph inequalities, we want to make sure of a few things. Right, even before we may have to solve, then graph it. So we want to make sure that these are things. We want to make sure these things are all set before we graph it. All right. First thing, make sure it's in the form of. You'll have a letter, then one of these sides. You're not going to have all four of them. You're only going to have one. All right. Then you'll have a number on the other side. Can somebody give me an example of what that would look like? Where it's a letter, one of those inequality signs, and then a number? Come up with any inequality you want. There's plenty of answers here. Well, let's start off with a letter. Someone give me a letter. X. Greater than? Somebody give me a number.
3.
3, 2, whatever, doesn't matter. That's an example of it being in that form. All right? When it's like this is when we run into a little bit of a problem. Say we had 5. See how it's kind of backwards? I mean, I wouldn't graph it like this. It makes it a lot more difficult to kind of see it. And the way we're going to explain it to you guys, to graph it, I wouldn't do it like this. So what I say here, this is like you're going to make sure that you pancake this. Right? You're going to pancake it. It means take your spatula and flip it over. But the thing I remember when I do this is I always try to remind myself, look where my arrow is pointing. What number is it pointing at before we flip it, before we pancake it? Where's the arrow pointing? At what number? The 5, right? The arrowhead, think of this as an arrow, right? If I filled it in, right? There's my arrowhead, right? There it is down there. All right, it's pointing towards the 5. When I flip it, I want to make sure that the arrowhead is still pointing towards the 5. So when I flip it, I'm going to do it down here. I'm going to flip it over. Pointing towards the 5, I'll put my 5, and I'll put my arrowhead. All right, so I try to use that, the little inequality sign. Sometimes when I'm doing, like when I'm pancaking it, I use it as a reference point to make sure that I know that, okay, if I'm going to flip it, because the variable's on the wrong side, I want letter, I want the letter, I want the sign, and I want the number. I didn't have that here, so I had to flip it. But I just want to make sure that the inequality sign on my arrow, the arrowhead, is pointing towards whatever it was. And again, when we might have a situation where it's pointing towards the variable. I don't know, it doesn't matter. But just make sure that use that kind of as a reference point to help you to say, okay, it's pointing towards the number when it's pointing at the number before. When I flip it, make sure it's still pointing at that number. Right? It's a lot easier to graph it this way. Then we got put a circle on the number. So we're going to give you a number line, right? Whatever number is given, all right? So say if I was looking at this inequality, all right? Connor, I'm looking at that inequality, right? I want to graph it. What number should I be looking at on the number line? 2. I want to make sure I find 2 on the number line. All right? Ginny, if I was going to graph this one that I just pancaked, what number should I be looking at on the number line?
5.
5. Good. So we get that out of the way. Now, what kind of a circle or a dot we're going to put depends on what kind of a sign that we have. All right? So we're going to put an open circle. All right? We're not going to fill it in. If it's, what sign is this? Yeah, we got to fix that, Mr. Hager.
Less than.
Wow. This would be a less than, right? Sophia, how about this? Greater than, right? So if there's no line underneath, that means you don't need to, when you put your circle on that number that's in the inequality, you do not need to fill it in. All right? There's nothing underneath, nothing tells you have to fill that circle, leave it open. All right? I'll use a closed circle. I'll fill it in, all right? So I'm going to use a closed circle. So on your notes, guys, for the first blank, you want to write this. Use an open circle. For the second blank, you want to use a closed circle. Because you guys have all these symbols, right? All the symbols are on there. All right, so we want to use a closed circle. Gemini, what does this mean? Less than or equal to. Good. X. How about this one? This means less than or equal to. About that one? Greater than or equal to. So again, I think of it as the line underneath is like a hint. The line underneath is saying, hey, make sure you fill in the bubble. Make sure you fill in your circle, right? Make sure you fill it and make sure you darken it. All right. So we make sure we do that. Last thing, shade the number line with an arrow in the direction the inequality is pointing. So basically what that means is whatever way the arrowhead is pointing, or the inequality sign, whatever direction it's pointing in, you want to draw a line connected from your circle in that direction, whatever way it's going. So if I go back up and use these examples, If I look at this, right? Mallory, if I had this, right? What direction would my line go from my dot? Right or left?
Right.
Right. Everybody see that? See how the arrow's pointing to the right? That's your hint to tell you, draw your line to the right. All right? Same thing here. It's pointing to the right. I'm going to go to the right. These are both greater than. This is greater than or equal to. If it was less than, like that, or less than or equal to, Fred, what direction will my arrow go in? From the line that I'm drawing. The left, right? It will go to the left because the arrow's pointing that way. As long as you know how to do that on your thing, you're fine. All right? Questions on any of this stuff? Not too bad. And today, I don't think we're going to have you. We're just going to give you the inequality. We're not going to make you solve it. We're just going to give you the inequality, then you have to graph it. All right? Everybody's got this. That last one, you guys didn't have the last step number 3. Did you have to write anything? It was already there for you. There was nothing there. Okay, cool. All right, so graph each inequality. First thing we're going to ask ourselves, all right? Z, is that, before we even go there, Z, what's the format? How should it be set up? What? What should be first? No. It's on your notes. Should be in the format or the form. Step number 1 on the back side. Yeah. Letter, sign. Are we good? Letter, sign, number. Very good. All right. Connor Kingsley. So we just did step number 1 right on the back side of your notes. We just did step number 1. Now we're on step number 2. What did step number 2 say to do? Well, we're graphing right now on your notes. Look on your notes. We just did step number 1. Now look at step number 2. What did step number 2 say? Circle the number, okay. So in this inequality, what's the number, Connor?
3.
-3. I circled it. Okay. Someone tell me now, what should I do with that number? Joe?
Why don't you keep it there? Or look at the number?
Fine. Okay, so what do you mean by look at the number?
Find the number on the number line.
Perfect. Find it on the number line. Good. There's -3 right there. Now what do I have to decide? Somebody besides Joe.
Sorry.
No? No, we're not at that. I know we're not at that point yet. We got to put something there, don't we? At -3. Mallory, what are we going to do?
You should put,
Okay. But
you have to put a closed circle,
why close circle, Mallory?
because there's a line under,
All right, so I'm just going to put a close circle.
no, on the -3.
Oh, on the -3. Okay, Mr. Hager's going to make it nice and fancy.
Why am I so stupid?
No, it's the first time you're doing it. Don't worry about it. All right, so we put a closed circle because everybody understand we had the line underneath. We had the line underneath. That's the hint to tell you. Make sure you shade in your circle. Now, no, Mr. Hager's gonna get his line ready. Which direction should the line go? To the left or to the right? To the left. Why?
Because that's what we're
Yeah, look where the inequality sign is pointing. Look where the arrow is pointing. It's pointing to the left. That's the hint to tell you, draw your line to the left. All right? So first thing, let's go over it quick again. Make sure it's in the right format. Sandra told us that it was, right? Letter, sign, number. Find the number on the number line, like Connor told us. We did. Then Mallory said we got to make sure we can decide what kind of a dot it is. It was closed because it had the line underneath. And then Noah told us at the end, we want to draw our line to the left because that's the way that arrow was pointing. That's it. All right? Let's look at the next one. Oh, sorry, Mr. Hager. All right, now we get this one. Am I good to graph right away? Okay. How many people say I can't graph it right away? Will, what do you think? Can I graph that right away? Xander, what's the format again?
Letter, inequality, symbol, number.
Good. Letter, inequality, symbol, number. What's the first thing you have in this inequality?
2.
What is 2? Is it a letter, a number, or inequality?
Number.
Number, right? What should be first?
X.
The X should be first. I agree. So I'm gonna write the X. Now, does anybody remember what I was saying before? I went over from a couple minutes when it's like this. What should we do? Gemini? Pancake it, right? Flip it. What did I say to remember, Gemini?
The arrowhead has to stay pointing to the number.
Oh, it's going to stay pointing at whatever it was pointing at originally, right? And you are right, like you said, it is pointing at the number in this case. So I flipped it. So which way does my arrow point when I flip a Gemini? To the right or to the left? To the right, because that's the 2's going to go at the end, right? So I want to make sure my arrow is going to the right when I flip it. And then the last thing I should write is what?
Circle.
Not yet. I'm missing something here. Noah. Oops. I got this. I got that. What am I missing? No, what am I missing from the original?
2.
2, yeah. Now, again, I'm going to say it again. The arrow was pointing at the 2 in the original inequality. I had to make sure that I flipped it, all right? I had to make sure it's still pointing at the 2 when I flipped it. The reason being was because it wasn't, like Xander told us, it wasn't in the right format. That's why I had to flip it. All right, now we can graph. Connor Kingsley, where do I start? At what number?
The 2.
2. Okay. Now what page?
Put an open circle.
Open circle 2. Why open page?
Because it's not
There's no what?
line.
Yeah, there's no line underneath. There's no little hint telling you make sure you bubble it in. Make sure you fill it in. Don't have to do it. Now, Ginny, direction of my line. Did you look at this one? Remember, you flipped it, right? So if you guys, that brings up a good point though, Jane. If you do flip it, you have to look back to the way how you, don't worry about this. Once you flip it, we don't got to worry about that anymore. We flipped it and we changed that. We got it in the order we want. We got it in the format we want. All right? So which way is my arrow going to go again, Jane? To the right. Good. Mistake is going to draw it. Perfect. So that one was a little bit different because we had to flip it. It wasn't in the right format, so we had to flip it. Okay? Last one. Mackenzie, where do I start? Oh, I should probably write some mistakes and write them down for me. There we go. All right, so mistake. And guys, we'll try to have you graph them. I'm not sure on the homework. I think you might have numbers on your graph. If not, don't worry, we'll just put a couple on and you'll be fine. All right. So Mackenzie, where do you want to start? 0. Okay. What do you want to do at 0? What did I do? Mackenzie, look at it circled. Say again?
2 and 3.
Okay, what did I circle? Look at this. Look at this. Not so much the number, but what it is. What are those things? What did I just draw? Yeah, open circle and a closed circle, right? Okay, so at 0, what should I do? Not sure. Okay. Nathan, what do? So, like Mackenzie just told us, we're gonna do, we know we're gonna start at 0. We're just gonna figure out what we're gonna do at 0.
You open circle, open at 0.
Why open, Nate?
Because
There's no,
there's no line.
yeah, there's no line underneath that. That tells us, there's no hint there to tell us that we have to shade it in. That's why we make it open. All right? Mr. Fred, I already asked you, Fred. How about, haven't heard from, how about Madison? Madison, what direction you want your line to go?
To the right,
To the right, how come?
because the arrow's going.
Yeah, look at your inequality, right? It's pointing in that direction. We draw our line that way. Okay? Pretty good with this stuff, guys?
Yeah.
Yes? All right.
Hey, okay.
And like I said, the thing with you guys, the thing with today is, with these inequalities, I don't think, let's say, are we solving today?
No.
I don't think so.
It's easier than
No, I don't think so.
Okay, perfect. All right, now, we're gonna give you the opposite. For these next ones we do, these next few, all right, you have to write the inequality. We give you the graph, you have to write it, okay? So I think the first thing everybody in here can do, what's the first thing I should write? Sophia? X, Y, M, N, I don't care. Whatever letter you want, doesn't matter. But Sophia said X, we'll go with X. Anything else that we know without really even having to understand inequalities or anything? Valerie? I don't care about signs or anything like that, but is there anything else on there I could maybe use?
48.
48, right? There's a big dot at 48, so I know I should probably put that. I just switched colors, I don't know how I did that though. So now, I left a little space. Well, why did I leave a space?
Because we need to put,
You don't have to tell me exactly what it is, but what needs to go there? You're not sure what it means?
I forget the name.
Yeah, a little Pac-Man thing, right? Inequality. The inequality sign needs to go there. All right, Sophia's she's had her hand up for a while, so she's ready.
It's
Right.
greater than or equal to.
She's saying greater than or equal to. Now, Sophia, can you fill us in? Like, how did you figure that out? Tell me. Yeah.
Because it's a closed circle.
It's a closed circle, so I know there's going to be a line underneath. But how did you know, Sophia? How did you know it was greater than?
Because it's a closed circle. Oh, greater than because it's going to this.
Look where the arrow. Look at the direction of the arrow. X, X. Look at the direction the arrow's pointing, right? Because yeah, that's why I make sure you know what you're doing, my friend. All right. That's all. You're making me nervous over there. Okay, you got that Singapore shirt on. I don't know what that is. Huh?
Family dollar.
It's a great Chinese restaurant in Fitchburg too.
I heard it's expensive there.
It's not that bad. All right, so good with this. The easiest way to do it is, guys, look the direction that your arrow's pointing in. Like Sophia said, it's closed. You know there's a line underneath. And then just put your arrow to the direction that the line is pointing. All right? So look at another one. This one.
already got it.
Mr. Kingsley, what should it start with?
X.
Awesome. X. Sydney, do you know anything else you can put on there? Without even knowing any signs or anything?
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to give me the sign, that's fine. If you want me to give you something else, that's fine too.
it's the less than.
Less than? All right, yeah, because it's pointing in that direction. Sydney, line underneath or not?
No.
No line, right? How come?
It's an open circle.
Yeah, open circle, right? What's the last, Jenny, what's the last thing I should put? 52, because that's the number it's at, right? Excellent, 52. All right, so that was that. So, someone remind me, what was the first thing that we did today? What was the first way we did these?
We wrote out each sentence.
Yeah, we gave you a sentence, right, Noah? And then you had to put it out in symbols, right?
Yeah.
Perfect, so you gotta know what those were, what greater than, you gotta make sure you know what the symbols are when you translate them. That's one thing we did. That's another thing we did.
Solution set.
What does that mean, X? Anybody remember solution set?
Yeah. That's that all the solutions that make the inequality show.
Okay, that's fine. That's a cool like math. You know, do you know what that means though?
Not really.
Anybody? That means that we're going to give you a variable. All right, we're going to give you the value of a variable. We'll say like x equals 5, right? And we'll say does that work for a solution set? What are you going to do with that number? Anybody remember from the 2 examples that we did? What do we have to do with that number?
Plug it into the.
Plug it in, exactly. We're gonna give you an inequality. Plug it in. How do we know if it works or not?
It like divides out evenly.
Yeah, if it comes out as a true statement, like if we said, let's say x minus 3 is less than or equal to 3. All right. So on this side, what am I going to write? Because now this is telling us what x equals. So what should I write? Here's x right here. What should I write? I'm telling you what x is up here. What am I going to write instead of x? 5, right? Everything else stays the same. The only thing that's different is the x. It's giving, when it asks for the solution set, plug in whatever that number is. It should be no variable. Minus 3. 5 minus 3 is what? Guys, 2. Now is that x?
1.
What does that say?
2 is less than. 2 is less than or equal to 3.
2 is less than or equal to 3. Does that work? Yeah. So we can say, all we can put is a check or yes. 5 is a solution. So when it asks for solution set, that's what it's asking for. All right. Pick a number. Well, I'm not going to pick a number. We're going to give it to you. The number we give you, plug it in. There should be no variable. All right. Just plug it in. Solve. If it comes out, if it's a true statement, great. If not, it doesn't work. It's not a solution. We did that. We did graphing. Make sure you know when it's open or closed. And then we gave you the graph, and you had to write the inequality. Those are the 4 things we did today. All right? Homework, section 2.1 now. Leave your notes out. You have some space down the bottom to do some practice problems.
Do we have to do?
Yes, you have to do the practice problems. It's your key to the homework.
Oh.